and give me your weed, I'll take your bitch too. Same it, the world wants to keep on turning, the joint wants to keep on burning.
So, hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, so like from last week, we did like a conversation with Mbak Febrina, and the situation has developed a lot lately.
True.
Like in the last week, I don't have school. Do you have school?
No.
We don't have school.
Yeah, all schools are closed.
Yes, everything is closed. But like, yeah, I mean, lo ada kelas online nggak?
I have mostly online classes, jadi kita tiap hari call with each other with Microsoft Teams and having to just stay home and not do the usual activities we would usually do.
Right.
Yeah.
Like for me, our course like udah selesai.
Oh.
So yeah, jadi kayak thank God. I don't know, like the timing was like so like impeccable because like the day before the lockdown, it was our last lecture.
Oh.
Jadi kita mulai lockdown tanggal 15 kan. Tanggal 14 itu terakhir.
Well, but that's good then.
Yeah. So I don't have any missing courses because I hate it. I hate like online lecture. Kayak kalau di rumah mending tidur aja daripada dengerin dosen ngomong kan.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, lots of my friends, they're also joining the call, but they're not contributing or anything. So they're acting as if it's frozen or something.
So yeah, basically the Netherlands is in a virtual lockdown, I would say, karena the government nggak issue an official lockdown, but everything is closed.
True.
Cuman ya kita tadi pagi ada kayak alert gitu di handphone. Kayak don't go out, like just stay at home and everything. Keep 1.5 meter apart from each other. So yeah, tapi kayak my house and Romilda's house is close, so like I can just like short bike right here. So like I don't think it's a huge risk. So yeah, what have you been doing?
Of course, having classes. Other than that, usually I would go out with my friends and hang out, having some lunchtime together. But now we're just having maybe just calling them eating.
Tapi strategi di Belanda itu kayak kenapa mereka nggak mau lockdown? So like they were trying to flatten the curve. Mungkin teman-teman udah banyak dengar tuh di mana-mana.
The Washington Post.
Yeah, and everything. What flattening the curve is? Can you like explain a bit more?
Of course. So scientists have developed these studies which are going to measure the time as well as the amount of people that are infected, right? So in the y-axis here we have the amount of people that are infected or the case, while the x-axis will talk about the time, the estimation time. And currently, what has happened in China is that the curve having such a high peak, and then it drops right away. That is basically what has happened in China. I think that people did not necessarily know about the dangers of that thing at first, so it spread so easily, and then the amount of people are just infected in such a short time. And in that time, there's also an upper limit in which the healthcare system can
manage, right? Yeah, because like you can only have so much beds, right? Walaupun kita udah jauh lebih bagus daripada Indonesia, cuman tetap ada limitasinya kan. Tetap there's a cap of how many people they can treat at a time.
Exactly.
So what they're trying to do is bukannya di lockdown, karena kalau di lockdown everyone stays in their own place gitu, like number of days. Cuman pas mereka keluar, akhirnya curve-nya nggak malah flatten, malah tetap pindah doang, ngerti gak sih? Jadi kayak cuman mindahin ini ke later date doang gitu. Mereka tetap mau beberapa terinfeksi, tapi in a controllable fashion.
Yeah, exactly. Because eventually everyone has to be infected.
Yeah, 60% minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
The concept is called herd immunity, right? Jadi mungkin banyak tuh yang di WA group segala macam bilang.
I think it's really important that you mentioned that because lots of people are freaking out about this idea. They thought that, oh my god, I have to be infected. Oh my god, am I gonna die and all that? No, it doesn't work like that. It's basically a slow progress of us trying to make everyone immune towards that specific disease.
Yang ditargetkan adalah yang kena tuh yang masih sehat. Karena we have the highest chance of surviving. Tapi there's a lot of talk about like apakah ini lebih bahaya daripada influenza, apakah ini lebih bahaya daripada Ebola segala macam. I don't think that's the way of seeing this. Kayak I don't think mortality rate is something that we should be concerned as normal people, as like the public.
Okay.
Government should be concerned about it, definitely.
Yeah.
Cuman untuk orang-orang seperti kita, apa sih artinya mortality rate? Kayak are you just gonna take everyone's life as percentage? Enggak kan? Jadi, well, it's easy to say like iya cuman berapa yang mati gitu. Cuman kalau yang mati adalah teman lu gitu, it's a whole different story, right? So it's not about the mortality rate itself. It's about at this point how do we prevent it from like getting larger gitu. Because no matter what, every disease is serious gitu. Influenza death rate-nya juga di beberapa negara lebih tinggi daripada corona yang sekarang gitu. Tapi it doesn't matter like that. It matters on how can we like protect the most fragile of our. We cannot explain it good enough karena aku anak biologi yang benar-benar tentang each cells and everything. Kita belum belajar tentang yang how a disease works in society and everything. I think we have a better source.
Yeah.
I have a friend. She's studying public health.
Okay.
In University College of London.
Wow.
Yeah, very prestigious. She's currently fleeing in Geneva. Jadi karena UK agak lockdown dan mencekam segala macam, dia sekarang pindah ke Geneva karena yeah, I think we can contact her and like ask her more questions, right?
Got it, every woman and man who has it, who caught it, isn't part of a
Okay,
plan.
so
All the way
I'm
from
here
Japan
with
to Milan, making its way from
is that
France
right?
to Milan. I ran
Raisa Anggreni Putri. sorry salah. Yeah, she's studying public health in UCL and gue mau nanya-nanya juga soal the situation. Kayak what can we expect that will happen gitu?
I think kita harus expect kayak kalau misalnya nggak ada intervention sama sekali atau minimal, kita bisa nggak expect what's happening in Italy to happen in Indo. Apalagi kita populasinya kan lebih tinggi juga kan, 210 juta gitu kan. Sedangkan Italia 60 juta, I think so. Jangan kaget kalau angkanya terus naik, it will. Dan we've heard also dari regional directornya WHO yang di Southeast Asia that after everything's done in Europe sekarang ini, Southeast Asia bakal jadi epicenternya juga. Jadi itu benar-benar bakal naik terus sih. I think challenge-nya juga beda kan. Kalau di Italia kan dia satu pulau gitu aja kan, satu gitu kan, sedangkan di Indonesia kan berpulau-pulau. Jadi I think we have to take it into more macro view, kayak infrastrukturnya gimana, ngasih resources-nya, terus misalnya test kit-nya mau dibawa ke pulau di NTT kemana tuh gimana. Jadi kayak bener-bener banyak banget sih yang bakal bikin angkanya terus naik gitu.
Tadi kita udah ngobrolin ya ini lebih bahaya daripada flu atau enggak. Tapi kayak I don't think it's fair to compare this karena cara diagnosa a flu and COVID-19 beda kan. Kalau flu tuh karena it's seasonal. So what doctors do is kalau misalnya symptomsnya emang kayak flu, they're just gonna mark it a flu.
Yeah.
Sementara kalau coronavirus, they need a test. Kayak how many times lu kalau ke dokter kayak dites flu swab? Not many, right? Kayak most of the time mereka cuma ngeliat symptoms segala macam, oh ini kayaknya flu, terus mereka kasih medication segala macam.
Dan seremnya juga COVID itu sekarang dibilang kalau bisa, kita sekarang bisa negatif, terus dicek lagi bisa positif, jadi bisa false negative. Dan I think taking it back into kayak healthcare system kita gimana kan, berapa kali sih orang sebenarnya mau ngetes kita berkali-kali sampai bisa misalnya dapat double negatif gitu kan.
And again like mortality rate di Indonesia menurut gue kenapa tinggi karena the test sedikit.
Iya.
Jadi kayak karena kalau misalnya lu measure misalnya 100 orang positif terus yang meninggal 25, sementara kalau yang meninggal sama 25 tapi yang lu tes 200 orang itu kan beda.
Ya sample size-nya masih terlalu kecil kan untuk
compare ya. Indonesia belum bisa ngetes semua orang. So how dangerous the flu is not how dangerous the disease is not only dependent to the mortality rate. Karena banyak faktor yang nggak pasti segala macam.
But yeah, it's also good that you mentioned that the numbers are always gonna be increasing ya kan. And people kayak freaking out kalau misalnya ya ampun nambah lagi di sini, ya ampun nambah lagi di sini. Aku panik kayak itu kayaknya nggak membantu nggak sih?
Yeah, I think one of the questions yang nanti juga ditanya, I think what do we expect? How does this end kan ya?
How does this end?
How does this end?
I need the sun.
Iya makanya kayak I don't see any sun, I don't see the light in the tunnel right now ya at least. But I think with the WHO saying that it's a pandemic, itu kayak a sign buat dunia kayak oke, lo harus mulai siap-siap, ini ada virus baru yang bakal live among us. Jadi eventually kalau kita udah ada vaksinnya, udah ada obatnya, udah ada semua solusinya, it's gonna be a common disease yang kayak flu gitu. Tapi road to dapat vaksinnya, dapat obatnya tuh bisa bertahun-tahun karena Cina sama Amerika udah ada kan tuh katanya yang siap mass produce, right? But actually producing that many in a short amount of time and banyak banget demandnya sekarang, nyampe masuk Indonesianya itu kapan bisanya? It's gonna jangan udah ada vaksin kita udah bakal sembuh, kayak nggak bisa, ini masih at least 1 to 2 years sisa gitu loh.
Ini pun kayak kemarin juga ada diobrolin di episode sebelumnya. It's the fastest vaccine production in the world, kayak world record kan ya. Jadi in 2 months mereka udah mulai clinical trial, tuh gila banget sih.
Tapi separately we're gonna talk about this again later, but it's a different type of vaccine apparently.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So which is why, but it's still we do not know if it's safe or not. So
if you see it on a global scale gitu, who's doing better than anyone?
I think we have to look at the 3 countries, China, Italy, and South Korea. China tuh benar-benar, you see the epidemiological curve, itu curve yang ngasih lihat statistiknya penyakitnya. Jadi kalau misalnya epidemiological curve tuh awalnya rendah, terus dia naik, terus rendah lagi. China tuh tiba-tiba spike tinggi banget, tapi drop langsung. Dan itu menurut aku karena mereka tuh strict banget lockdown, no one goes in, no one goes out, everything shuts down, bener-bener gak ada yang bisa keluar, sama mereka ngelakuin contact tracing. So dengan ada 2 itu, epidemiological curve mereka drop, right? And then if you see South Korea, mereka nggak lockdown, mereka nggak anjurkan social distancing kayak kita sekarang ini, tapi yang mereka lakuin gila-gilaan tuh intense contact tracing. Jadi mereka cari tahu patient zero-nya siapa dan mereka contact tracing siapa aja yang pernah ketemu sama orang. Buktinya epi curve mereka tuh bener-bener flat banget, nggak yang spike kayak Italia sama Cina sekarang. Dan sekarang Italia itu setahu aku lockdown, tapi mereka nggak se-intense contact tracingnya kayak South Korea. Dan I think if we see what's happening right now, it's still peaking. It's not, and we don't see the end of it yet. Tapi menurut aku dari 3 itu we see that yang paling penting sebenarnya intense contact tracing sih. Lockdown nggak bantu banget biar kayak nge-minimize orang kayak expose ke siapa aja. Tapi kita ngeliat kalau dari Italia tanpa nggak adanya contact tracing, ya terus aja naik kan. Jadi I think itu sih yang best menurut aku personally, kayak that's what we have to do and that's the most effective way.
Okay. So like mungkin kalau lu punya opini tentang why is in Indonesia mortality rate-nya tinggi segala macam, mungkin lu ada opini tentang itu. Kayak kenapa why are we not the best at facing this?
Okay, I think taking it back, tadi kan we already discussed how Indo kan sample size-nya kecil ya. Dan I think kita tuh we didn't really see the threat of it yet. Waktu pas awal-awal kejadian kita I think the whole world, right, kayak ngeliat cuma di Cina, cuman paling ntar lah nggak apa-apa. But then I think we took that a bit too far and didn't realize how it's gonna affect our country kan. Kita nggak bisa nemu patient zero-nya kan kayak Korea. Jadi kita tuh we're not at the point where it's import cases, it's now homegrown. Semua sekarang virusnya tuh udah di Indo, udah bukan karena orang keluar masuk lagi. Dan oleh karena itu governmentnya belum sempat ngelakuin contact tracing yang tadi itu kan.
Sekarang waktu itu like I remember it vividly, kayak Harvard udah ngeluarin kayak nggak mungkin di Indonesia nggak ada kasus. Ini nggak mungkin banget.
Itu iconic.
Like considering everything. Dan the government kayak agak reluctant tentang itu. What I can say is that this is like a new thing for the Indonesian government. The US government, they've been established for a long time. They faced 1918, like the Spanish flu and everything. Cuman Indonesia waktu itu belum merdeka tahun 1918. Jadi kayak I get it that it's a very virgin ground for us Indonesian. Cuman I think the lesson to learn is to trust the science.
Yeah. Dan I think juga kayak kamu bilang yang Amerika kan punya Spanish flu, kayak Korea kenapa bisa mereka kayak gitu, karena mereka ngelihat dulu pas SARS sama MERS kayak oke, kita ngelakuin yang jelek di mana, and they develop from that gitu. Sedangkan kita kan waktu itu pas SARS sama MERS juga I don't think it was that bad.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah, I can see, I can tolerate, cuman we gotta do better next time, right?
Yeah. Harus banget sih.
Let's talk about the UK. What was it in UK? Kayak waktu itu lu gimana segala macam?
Di UK waktu itu menarik banget. Soalnya kita tahu kasusnya mulai naik karena Italia kan. Terus tapi kita nggak ada kabar dari parlemen sama sekali about like UK shutting down, about school shutting down, even though numbers were increasing. And then we found out later on kalau governmentnya tuh mencoba untuk make the population just go about as their day to develop herd immunity. Jadi sampai Prime Ministernya bilang kayak be ready to lose your loved ones before their time. Tuh kayak a bit, I don't know, should I be worried? Tapi apparently they were trying to do herd immunity, but that was a very off judgment. Yang benar-benar itu completely wrong, karena I think sama aja kayak Indo, sebenarnya mereka nggak nyadar betapa dangerousnya ini gitu. Jadi that's what the UK was trying to do, but now they're shutting it down.
Okay, our conversation abis ini bakal tentang vaksin, karena hopefully the upcoming vaccine gitu. Cuman kayak what I see like the good thing about this pandemic, whatever. Cuman like the way people actually like starting to trust the scientists. Itu kayak I was like, what did we do right this time,
I don't know. I think we just kind of have to suck it up and keep on telling people like, no, listen to us, we know a lot. Like we know what we're talking about, and like we're not being political, because I feel like health can't be political, and they need to understand that. So I think by them understanding that, I think mereka bakal bisa lebih paham scientific community-nya sih.
I think that's enough, right? Okay. Thank you, Icha. So yeah, that was our conversation with Icha. Yeah, our friend. Thank you, Icha, for your opinion and everything.
Informative.
Yeah, very informative. Karena we will eventually have a corona vaccine, right? In a way.
Yes.
Hopefully. So how's the development on that? Karena di luar sana banyak informasi salah kayak
we might have it in 2 months.
Yeah, in 2 months, 3 months, I don't know. Cuman kenapa mereka udah punya clinical trial segala macam? Kayak I think you've done your research. Can you like tell us what you have found?
We also talked about it with Kak Febrina previously, that some vaccines adalah vaccines yang diambil dari virus yang akhirnya dilemahkan, terus habis itu mereka diinjek gitu kan. But we need to understand that there are some types of vaccine gitu.
Yeah.
Jadi first there is live attenuated vaccine, which is basically you're taking the virus, you're trying to culture it, trying to allow it to replicate itself, and then eventually weaken it, baru diinjekkan ke human, so that you will have the immunity towards it. But the newest one for the COVID-19 is something that I just discovered, and it's so interesting. Apparently it's the mRNA vaccine. Now, we know that mRNA is responsible for protein synthesizing. It needs to go through a lot of processes, transcription, translation.
Pokoknya teman-teman yang lulus SMA harusnya tahu sih.
Now we know that in the membrane, this virus have proteins, and in COVID-19 they have this protein called the spikes.
The spikes, yeah.
And these spikes are what's gonna be considered by your antibody, which are going to produce the memory cells. So when you have that mRNA injected to your body is going to produce the protein, which are the same protein that is contained in the membrane. So in the end, when the real thing happens, you have the immunity towards it.
It's just you producing proteins. You know? We do this all the time. So like, it's very interesting.
Currently, it's the Moderna company in the US. It's a private company. So they have been testing on 45 people, and because it's the mRNA vaccine, so it's not supposedly to be harmful or anything.
Oh yeah, and like for those who are like in quarantine right now, I highly recommend like this series in Netflix. It's called Pandemic.
Oh, okay.
It's really interesting karena menurut gua
What is it about?
it's about how this group of scientists they're trying to make a vaccine for influenza, tapi yang gak harus administer every year. So what happened is like every year the influenza virus keeps on mutating, as we know. Supposedly you need to be injected by a new vaccine. This intervention method is like very, I don't know, discomforting for everyone karena siapa yang suka disuntik gitu, kecuali pecandu narkoba yang voluntarily disuntik. Cuman kayak orang-orang biasa nggak suka lah disuntik. So what they're trying to do is like you only need one flu shot for the rest of your life. One vaccine that can in a way predicts or like not predicts refute refute future mutation so that they already have the antibody for that.
Ooh, I wonder if that's sci-fi or
that's real life.
Ooh, okay.
It's called Distributed Bio. The company. It sounds like sci-fi. Right? It sounds very like sci-fi-ish because like all we know our life itu kayak virus mutasi terus kayak nggak bisa diapa-apain ternyata there's a group of like brilliant scientists that they're doing this gitu. Dan di situ juga diceritain how governments are handling pandemics and epidemics and everything. So it's a really interesting series. I myself watched that series to make this video karena males baca papers. mending nonton aja, cuman itu seru banget. Jadi untuk kalian yang gabut mending nonton itu. Di episode yang lalu itu ada the extension of our conversation with Mbak Fabrina kan. We're talking about kenapa orang-orang masih skeptis tentang vaksin. What do you think?
Ooh, okay. I think that there has been a lot of misinformation about how vaccine work and the side effects of it. Okay, it might in some cases like develop fever in some people and also have some like kayak tangannya aneh gitu rasanya. Pegel, which is not a huge side effect, of course. It only lasts for 2 days, or maybe you cannot sleep that well because of that. And there are also some people yang consider kayak itu unnecessary because it seems like the disease is not spreading anymore currently. Like polio udah nggak ada yang kena polio kok, emangnya kenapa aku harus punya vaksin? No one is having polio anymore. I would not be infected, but that's not the case. It will of course develop again once you're not protected by it, you know. And also some misinformation that it might cause autism, which is I think a bit too far, but I do respect the idea because there are some linkages of people that found that after having the vaccine they have developed that, but it always like you cannot make a conclusion out of a non-experimental approach, you know. So
what about like the autism thingy? Like I want to add because like we had this conversation before, but like the doctor, the supposed to be doctor, is now like banned from practicing medicine because of making this paper yang gak valid. Jadi orang-orang ini paper juga udah paper sampah gitu loh, paper yang orang udah gak percaya lagi. Jadi even though it's packaged as a scientific method, it's not anymore. We all agree that it is not karena sampai orang ini pun udah gak boleh sama sekali practice medicine. So I think that myth can be debunked already. We can consider it as debunked. Cuman masih banyak alasan-alasan lain, autonomy about our own body, because that's important. I know, because like you cannot always trust the government, right? You need to have a sense of autonomy towards your own body. So how do you think that we can explain, you know, like yes, we do get it. You do have the autonomy of your body, but you're endangering someone else.
In order to protect the people around us, of course, we need to be aware that it might affect other people and that it might not be good for them. You need to protect yourself in order to protect other people. Or even if the idea is not to protect yourself, it's to prevent anyone else to get it.
Iya. Makanya menurut aku kayak kenapa misalnya in public schools and everything orang-orang anak-anak ini nggak boleh attend school karena mereka tidak divaksinasi, karena logikanya adalah oke, lu punya otonomi tentang badan lu gitu. Oke, we respect that. Right? Cuman we as the community, as the rest of the people, kayak gue tapi nggak mau anak lu deket-deket sama anak gue karena anak lu itu membahayakan anak gue.
That's a consequence.
Yeah, that's a consequence. It's just bukan, kita nggak cuma memberi punishment karena lu nggak mau nurut terus kayak ya udah kalau gitu lu hak lu dicabut. Bukan itu, cuman dengan lu tidak memvaksin anak lu juga mencabut hak anak-anak lain untuk sehat gitu. That's the point of view that you guys need to take, you know. That vaccine is for us to protect everyone else. It's not always about you, you know. Okay.
And now we realize where true freedom lies. They stop in masses in churches and university classes, parties and concerts and Calabasas, social status and VIP passes. Cause this a pandemic, it don't care who you is, $1 million baby or single mom with 4 kids.